All right, this is a short introduction to Buddhism. Presumably you have watched the first 20 minutes of the movie The Buddha and have completed your 3-question sheet and have opened up or printed the Intro to Buddhism guided notes that are directly above this video in the module. So let me click here to type. Okay, so first of all, the founder of Buddhism is a person whose name was, the Buddha is a title, and there are more than one Buddha. His name was Siddhartha Gautama. No, don't like that. Okay. And he lived, we think, about 563 to 483 BCE. I say 563, yeah. 3 to 483, right. According to Buddhist tradition. Now, word of warning, we know about the historical Jesus. We're pretty sure about that now. We unquestionably know about the historical Muhammad. We don't know, we don't have a lot of surety in the actual existence of a person named Siddhartha Gautama, certainly not in this time frame. You may remember from the movie, the poet W.S. Merwin said, we don't know how much of his biography is historical fact and how much is pure fairy tale. And then he said, but it doesn't matter. And that's true. Buddhists really don't care. It's the teaching that's important. So how many Buddhists are there? Again, always tough to tell, but about 445 million. And that is about 7% of the world's population. And that makes Buddhism the 4th biggest world religion behind Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism. So it's a major religion. Where are they? Well, you can find the most of them in China, which of course is a very large country, and it's about 175 million. But again, tough to tell. So you think, wow, that's not a majority of China. No, it's not. There are a lot of different religions in China, and we're going to talk a lot more about that in our next and final religion, Taoism. So where are there countries with majorities of Buddhism? Well, one would be Japan. A lot of Buddhists in Japan. Another would be Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos, right next door to Cambodia, or right next door to Thailand, rather. Burma, also called Myanmar, and Sri Lanka, which is that island off the bottom tip of India. So, with the exception of all of, let's see, by the way, I meant to add over here, Vietnam. And then over here, there are a couple more, Tibet, even though that's politically part of China, it's controversial, and Bhutan, little mountain kingdom to the north of India. So, why have I put these countries where there are majorities of Buddhists in this particular configuration? Well, China and Japan count as really East Asia. So does the Koreas, but the number of Buddhists has really been dwindling in the Koreas, and so they're definitely not a majority of Koreans. And with the exception of Vietnam, that's Southeast Asia. Japan, China, Korea, those are East Asia. And with the exception of Sri Lanka, which is in South Asia, the rest of these countries are Southeast Asia. And Tibet and Bhutan are in the Himalaya Mountains. Now, these three separate groups represent, there's a sort of a geographic element to the three different branches of Buddhism, and that's why I put them like that. More about that in a minute. All right, so the triple refuge is something to know about. It's also called the three jewels. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma, which in this case, remember, unlike Hinduism, it's best to think of it as, where am I? Just happened there. Okay, I take refuge in the Dharma. Okay, that's working. Which means teaching. In Hinduism, it meant generally duty. In Buddhism, it means generally, same word, but it means generally teaching. It can mean law or religion, but here it means the Buddhist teaching. And finally, I take refuge in the Sangha, which is the community of Buddhist believers. All right, let's talk about these three things. First of all, the Buddha. By the way, this Buddha here, which is an enormous statue, is a very common iconographic portrayal of Buddha. He is in the lotus position, which we also see Lord Shiva in that Mahayogi iconographic portrayal, and it suggests a serenity disposition, and that's what the Buddha gives us: a serenity. I can spell. I promise. I just can't type. Serenity. For God's sakes. Which is the key to eliminate suffering. So, in the movie, you heard the Buddha say very end, he was quoted when he talked about his mother dying. I have found that the world is full of death and suffering. But I have found a serenity, and you can too. That's what Buddhism is all about. That's what the Buddha is all about. His teaching is the Dharma, and it is encapsulated in something called the Four Noble Truths. And these are very important. And we'll unpack and talk about them in great length, but it's good to just kind of glance at them. The first of the Four Noble Truths is the truth of suffering. Basically, all is suffering. What's happening here? Because I can't type. I have to look at the keyboard, so I'm not sure what's happening on the screen. By the way, the Pali word for this is dukkha, suffering. All is suffering. That is the nature of life. That sounds pretty bad, but truth number two is is the truth of, I'm sorry, that's not right, the origin of suffering. Suffering has a cause, and we know that. And therein lies the ability to free ourselves from the suffering. Okay. Third noble truth is that suffering can end. The cessation. Okay. The cessation. The truth of the cessation of suffering. Come on, man. All right, here we go. And the cessation of suffering is that cessation is nirvana. So, the truth of suffering, the truth of the origin of suffering, the truth of the cessation of suffering, and the truth of the path. Looked away again. the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. My typing is suffering. And that, by the way, is the Noble Eightfold Path. We'll talk about it later, but it's things like right livelihood, right thinking, right action, things like that. All right. Much more about the Noble Truths later. So I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma, his teaching. I take refuge in the Sangha. The Sangha, yeah, let's put that right here. Okay. Misspelled it. H-A. Okay, yeah. All right. The community of Buddhist believers is divided into generally three large groups, just like Christianity. Now, I said in air quotes here, original Buddhism. The Buddhism is espoused by the Buddha. Is called Theravada. Theravada or Theravadan Buddhism. Theravada. And that, what that means is the doctrine of the elders. I think of this, again, shouldn't make comparisons, but I think of this as sort of like Orthodox Christianity. They believe that they are teaching the same thing the early church taught, and they're sticking to it. However, they are the smallest group of Buddhists. And while that's not true for Theravada, it is definitely a minority group. And this generally is found in Southeast Asia, like places like Thailand and Laos, Cambodia, and so on. That was why I configured that one group like that. Those are generally Theravadan Buddhist countries. The second one is Mahayana, and we refer to that. What that really means is the greater vehicle. Ellie, right? Yeah. The greater vehicle. Greater vehicle to what? Greater vehicle to enlightenment. This is a kind of a reform movement that developed several hundred years after the death of the Buddha. And it is dominant in East Asia, China principally, and it is the largest group of Buddhists. Now, Tantra, the third group, is the smallest, and it's known by a bunch of names. It's known by Vajrayana, which means the diamond vehicle or the lightning vehicle. So, hey, Mahayana was better. It was a greater vehicle. We've got something better now. We have a diamond vehicle. It's also sometimes referred to by its geography. It's referred to as Tibetan Buddhism. Mahayana and Vajrayana are sort of connected. It's sort of like Mahayana was a reform movement, like Protestantism, and Vajrayana is sort of a reform of the reform. So Theravada, remember we talked about philosophical Hinduism, the Hinduism of the Upanishads, and then later devotional Hinduism with devotional deities. Buddhism is kind of like that. The original Buddhism, Theravada, is there are no deities. It's more philosophical religion. Mahayana definitely has lots and lots of devotional entities. And it's about compassion and building that special relationship with a deity that can help you reach enlightenment. Vajrayana is a combination of philosophy and devotion, and it claims to be the best and can bring you. So this very slow enlightenment here. This can bring you enlightenment to a layperson. This can bring you instant enlightenment. So that's why it's also called the lightning vehicle as well as the diamond vehicle. So these two are kind of connected but still separate. And that is a very quick introduction to Buddhism.